Florida Governor Ron DeSantis facing backlash after rejecting the College Board's new advanced placement African American Studies course.
In the state of Florida, our education standards not only don't prevent, but they require teaching Black history. The issue is we have guidelines and standards in Florida. We want education, not indoctrination.
By rejecting the African American History pilot program, Ron DeSantis has clearly demonstrated that he wants to dictate whose story does and doesn't belong.
For more on this, Mike Gonzalez, Angeles T. Arredondo Senior Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, joining me now. Thank you, sir, for giving up a little time on this Saturday. The question here isn't so much about whether we should be studying African American history. You can't study American history without delving into the role that African Americans are playing in the building of this nation, from slavery to the battle for voting rights. But the argument here on this course is that it's not what it pretends to be, that it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Is that what the governor is contending?
Yes, of course it is. And I think that Ron DeSantis here has struck a victory for the right of children to study African American history that is free of a political program. We should all children should study more Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Booker T, even W.B. Du Bois, whom I obviously disagree with. What we should not be doing is subjecting children to a political Marxist program to change America, and that is what African American Studies pretends to do. It teaches Angela Davis and Bell Hooks and Black Lives Matter. These are all Marxists. Bell Hooks is not just a literary figure. Bell Hooks wanted Black women to commit to anti-capitalist politics. Angela Davis was on the FBI most wanted list. She was VP. She ran as VP on the Communist Party USA ticket. She thinks communists are too conservative. And by the way, she says that African American Studies is the intellectual arm of the revolution. In Black Lives Matter, the founders were trained by committed Marxists who wanted to dismantle the United States. So we shouldn't be allowing our children to become cannon fodder in these culture wars to dismantle the U.S.
Yeah, some of those concerns you're raising are the same concerns that the Florida Department of Education raised. We just saw there in the graphics some of the things that they'd raised. But those pushing back against DeSantis' stand, the stand that the state is taking, including White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre, have presented the governor, the team there, as purposely blocking the study of Black Americans. Becky Pringle, who's the president of the National Education Association, tweeted, "When we censor classes and whitewash lesson plans, we harm our students and do them a deep disservice." Your thoughts on the way that proponents of the class, as it's designed, are portraying DeSantis and the course itself?
Well, they're lying. Karine Jean-Pierre, once again, is lying from the podium. This is not preventing the teaching of Black history. Florida, by statute, has to teach Black history as right it should. It is our history, it's the history of all Americans. So when they say, what they're doing is they're playing a word game. They're saying that this prevents the teaching of history. It does nothing of the sort. This AP, African American Studies, was an indoctrination of our youth into a Marxist program to transform America. They thought that we were not going to notice. DeSantis noticed. Kudos to him. This is why he's the national figure that he is, and why he's getting the attention nationally, and why the left hates him.
Yeah, DeSantis has tweeted, and he said that education is about the pursuit of truth, not the imposition of ideology or the advancement of a political agenda. But more than 30,000 people have signed this online petition. It's rather accusatory, and it says in part that it's clear that the Florida Governor DeSantis has been using Black students as political pawns in his quest to build power and conservative outrage. Is there some back and forth, some part of this course conflict topic that is about politics?
Look, many of the people who signed that petition are well-intentioned Americans who have believed what these leftist leaders are saying to them. They want Black history to be taught, and who wouldn't? I do as well. We should be teaching more of it, not less. We should know more about Frederick Douglass. We should know more about Martin Luther King's Sermon on the Mall. But so a lot of people who signed this, if I didn't know any better, I would, yeah, absolutely, I want Black history to be taught. But this is not what this is about. Don't forget, again, what Angela Davis said. African American Studies is the intellectual arm of the revolution. I ask your listeners, do we want revolution in this country? The answer clearly is not.
I guess the final thing is, what can parents do about this?
I think parents are really engaged, actually. I have traveled this country backwards and forwards, going to over 60 cities in the last 2.5 years. I think the sturdy institutions of civil society are rising up and saying, they're catching on to what is going on. The parents, the grandparents are saying, our children are being used as cannon fodder to transform America. These people love their children, they love America, they love their places of work. They're not going to let this stand in their way. So I think that the more engaged, read more about it, read what the left says, read what the conservatives say, and make up your own mind.
Thank you so much, Mike Gonzalez. We appreciate your insight on this topic. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.